What's up, guys? Welcome to the very first episode of the Last Dance, a franchise mode series with the Pittsburgh Penguins. If you've seen the thumbnail for this video and if you've also seen The Last Dance, the documentary that aired ESPN, Michael Jordan and the Bulls, you probably get an idea about what this is about. But in case you don't know, what we're doing here is a franchise mode series with the Pittsburgh Penguins, and what we're trying to do is maximize the time that Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin, Chris Letang, and others have left in this league. Taking a look here at Sidney Crosby, he's 33 right now. Later this year in August, in about 6 months' time, he's going to, 6 months as of 2 days ago, he's actually going to turn 34. So the average probably retirement age of an NHL hockey player is about 38 years old. I'm assuming Crosby will probably continue to play. He's been pretty healthy the latter portion of his career, even after all the injuries. But I would hazard he's playing into his 40s, just as a safe bet. He's still a top 3 player in the league today. But what we're trying to do here is maximize the amount of years Crosby has left, and we're going to try to get him as many rings as we possibly can in that time frame. There's obviously obstacles to that as we go along here. Age, salary cap are huge factors. Other than the fact that a friend of mine who's a Penguins fan suggested doing this mode to me, and I kind of really like the idea. The other reason really is that Jim Rutherford just stepped down as the Penguins general manager about a week and a half ago under kind of weird circumstances. There's been various reports he was trying to trade Chris Letang out of Pittsburgh, and ownership didn't really like it, so he kind of just left, which makes a lot of sense. But in my mind, even besides the 2 Stanley Cups back-to-back, I don't think Rutherford's been that great of a GM for the Pittsburgh Penguins. So it kind of makes sense that a change of owner or a change of GM, which is happening currently, seems the leading candidate is Ron Hextall. So it makes sense in that regard that a new GM would step in, and that's where we come in. And I've already made some trades in this mode, and I've made about 5, and they're pretty big ones. I would say 2 or 3 of them are pretty big. But I want to get into it and show you guys what the trades are and explain them a little bit further. So obviously our goal is to win Stanley Cups here in Pittsburgh in the last few years of Crosby, Malkin, Letang's careers. In order to do that, we needed to bolster this lineup considerably, and I will show you guys how we've done that. And I think we've got a Stanley Cup winning team that just improved a lot in just these trades. So let's go ahead and we'll bring up the trades here. I'll put them on the screen for you guys so you can see them, and we'll break down the trades little by little as we go. So the first trade we made, I wanted to make trades that made sense in today's NHL climate. 2 guys that have requested trades kind of openly despite their GMs kind of saying otherwise. The first one being Calgary's Sam Bennett. So we made a trade here. Brandon Tanev, prospect Jonathan Gruden, going to Calgary along with a 2022 third-round pick in exchange for Sam Bennett. So there's 2 real big things with this. Bennett's going to be our 4th-line center, and I really like that idea for him. A change of scenery is always good for a player. Honestly, I think he'll be a great 4th-line center. He's going to get power play time. He's going to get penalty kill time as well. And for Calgary on the other side of this, Brandon Tanev gets to go play with his brother Chris, who just signed from the Vancouver Canucks this past offseason. They get a prospect and a pick as well in this trade, and it's mainly because Brandon Tanev's contract is long and it's $3.5 million. They're taking on a big salary commitment there, so that to me makes a whole lot of sense. Calgary takes on a bit of a commitment. They also get a pick thrown in with a prospect. Our second trade, of course, the other player who is kind of publicly with his agent requested a trade out of where he's playing, is Victor Mete in Montreal. So the Penguins will receive Victor Mete and Joel Armia, and heading back to Montreal is Mike Matheson and a 2021 second-round draft pick. So the first part of this, again, another change of scenery for a player. Mete could come in. He's going to play third pairing left defense with Cody Ceci. Again, I'm hoping Cody Ceci will be that defensive player to allow Victor Mete to excel offensively. Joel Armia is not sticking around. We are flipping him out for a couple of draft picks after this, which we'll get to very shortly. And heading back to Montreal, Mike Matheson is not good. He's okay in the video game, but what is really bad is his contract is like 4.85 or something, or 4.625 or something for 6 years. I believe it's a contract he signed while he was in Florida, and I believe he was also part of the Patrick Hornquist trade from this past offseason. That's kind of a bad contract. I don't like the deal that Rutherford made there, of course, but I understand why he did it. But because of that, we're going to take back Armia in salary. We're also going to have to give up a second-round pick in this year's draft, as again, just like with the Calgary trade, Montreal is now taking on a very big salary commitment in a time where they've committed a bunch of their salary already. So this trade also leaves us without a draft pick until the 5th round of the 2021 draft. The next one up is Joel Armia's flip. He's going to the Dallas Stars. I thought Dallas, of course, first off, trading a player out of division, out of conference is the best kind of route for one of these kind of deals. Coming back to Pittsburgh is a 2022 5th round draft pick belonging to Dallas, as well as a 2022 7th round draft pick also belonging to Dallas. That'll bolster a little bit of our draft stock coming not this offseason but next, which will be pretty needed considering how many picks we've been giving up in the last few years, Rutherford's trades and my own here pretty early on in the mode. The next trade, probably debatably, I think it's the second biggest I've made so far. This one I really like, and I'll get into it quick after I break down what was traded here. So heading to the Winnipeg Jets is Jason Zucker. Coming back to Pittsburgh is center Brian Little in a 2022 7th round draft pick. So there's a reason I really like this one. Brian Little is a solid second center for a lot of teams in the NHL. And what the Penguins have always really had in their cup runs is a very good third line center. So that's where Brian Little's going to end up playing. He will be our third line center. I'm really excited to have him there because he's just going to bolster whoever is on that line with him. We also get a 7th round draft pick. Again, just a little bit more draft capital heading into next offseason. And for the Jets, I think this makes a ton of sense. The line for Dubois trade just went through. Getting a winger back into the system, even though you're giving up a center, you just got Pierre-Luc Dubois. That center role is definitely filled. So I think Jason Zucker makes a lot of sense for the Jets to bring in as a player. Scoring winger. He's a top 6 winger in the league. Makes a ton of sense for the Jets to have Jason Zucker. And our last and arguably biggest trade so far of the mode, we are sending Casey DeSmith, the goaltender, the backup goaltender for the Pittsburgh Penguins, prospect Nathan Laguerre, and Josh Curry isn't actually in this trade. It's a placeholder for a guy named Lucas. Oh my god, I can't even remember his name. Svikovsky or something. 18-year-old prospect that just got drafted in this year's draft. I believe he was a 4th round pick, 108th overall by the Penguins. So it's not actually Josh Curry in this trade. I just had to use him as a placeholder because cap friendly only kind of lets you trade signed players. But nevertheless, so 2 prospects and a 1st round pick heading to Vegas, and we'll see why the 1st round pick was needing to be included. But coming back to Pittsburgh finally after being claimed in the expansion draft by the Vegas Golden Knights and very publicly having issues with his coach and really wanting a trade out, and Vegas really wanting to move him. Marc-Andre Fleury comes back to Pittsburgh after about 4 years away, and we also get Fleury at half retained, so $3.5 million of his salary is retained by the Vegas Golden Knights, which is pretty big considering he still has a year past this one on his contract. We also take back Chandler Stevenson, again another salary implication there. Stevenson currently scratched for me, but I think he's a useful forward who can play anywhere up and down the lineup. So I'm pretty excited to have him in the lineup intermittently throughout the year. And the last piece, Terrell Goulburn. He's just an AHL player. He will be down in Wilkes-Barre all season. So that wraps up the trades, guys. Comment down below about, if you like the trades, if you think they're realistic. I tried to keep realism there. It is tough to deal with the AI on trades in this game sometimes, just because, even on easy trade difficulty, you can get fleeced very easily. Not a whole lot of hockey trades happen. Honestly, I'll be quite frank. I had Tanev and Bennett going 1-for-1 before, and I don't really know why, but something changed at some point. I think these trades are really, really good. So let's go ahead and break down the lines as we head into the first portion of this series. So our first line, Jake Gensel, Sidney Crosby, and Kasperi Kapanen. I really do like this line. Gensel, of course, and Crosby have already had an established chemistry. Kasperi Kapanen coming over in the trade in the offseason from the Toronto Maple Leafs. He's a speedy player, can kill penalties. He's kind of aloof out there. So he's a very basically what he is. He's just an offensive threat. But putting an offensive threat with Sidney Crosby more times than not is going to pay off dividends. Our second line, Evgeny Malkin centering Jared McCann and Brian Rust. Jared McCann is one of my favorite players to use in this game. He's a speedy guy who can play center or the wing. Brian Rust is a short guy, short player who just plays a lot bigger than he is. He's 5'11", he plays about 6'3" on that ice surface every night. I like the idea of putting them with Malkin because Malkin can carry a line by himself anyways. So putting McCann with him, who has scoring upside, Rust, who has just kind of a grinder mentality, I think this will really work out for them. On to the third line, Brian Little, of course, as I mentioned, he's going to be our third line center, centering Teddy Bluger and Colton Sevier. I really like this as kind of a two-way line that's perfect for a third line. A lot of more defensively motivated, but I think Brian Little can elevate it offensively as well. Colton Sevier is a guy who he's solid two-way. He's a solid bottom six guy, a top nine forward who can really just play both ends of the ice. And for Teddy Bluger, he's really shown in the last few years that he, can play both sides of the ice as well. So he's a little bit more of a project. But I think on this line, being elevated by someone like Brian Little is perfect for him. And the last line, the fourth line, Sam Bennett centering this one. Again, I mentioned how I like Bennett being centered on this line specifically. I mentioned earlier, he's going to get power play time. He's going to get penalty kill time on this team. And I really like the way this is going to be set up with a bit of a, beside him on the right wing here, Evan Rodriguez, who has shown he can be really good at times, really bad at other times. So he's a bit of a streaky player in that regard. But I think he can be really good on a fourth line, stabilized with a fourth line that's really not coming up to hit you or wear you down. They're really just coming out to skate and skate hard. And on the left side, Zach Aston Reese, again, kind of just a two-way, type of forward here, a fourth liner. Decent speed. He can throw hits and stuff like that as well. And as we move over to our defense, Brian Dumoulin and John Marino, I actually tweaked a little bit coming into the mode. Brian Dumoulin's an 81 typically in this game, and he's a little bit better than that. He's not a top two anywhere else but Pittsburgh, but he is a solid player to be next to Chris Letang. Chris Letang, of course, an offensive defenseman. He's kind of fallen off the last few years, but having Dumoulin next to him, I think, really helps that, and I think that can really begin to elevate Letang's offensive side of his game again. As we move on to the second pairing, Marcus Pettersson, a big player, not as fast as John Marino, certainly not as skillful with the puck. So he again is our defensive player to Marino's offense. John Marino, I changed from a low top 60 to a top 40. He just signed that long contract extension, which I think is a pretty solid deal overall. What we're hoping for is in the next couple of years, he can bump himself up to an 82 or an 83. Really just become that solid fourth defenseman on this team. And our last pairing, as mentioned earlier, Victor Mete and Cody Ceci. I really like this pairing, again, for the same reasons as I pointed out with the other two pairings. I really want Cody Ceci to be the defensive D, stay home. He's not very good. I want him to be more defensively reliable, even though that's a big ask for Cody Ceci. But what I really want to see is for Victor Mete to be unleashed offensively. Allow him to carry the puck up, rush the puck. He's a very quick player. He's a small defender. But I think he easily can be a rushing defenseman on a third pairing. And again, when you have that third pairing out, you're going to be matching up typically against a team's other worst pairing and worse offensive lines. So I really like the potential of a Ceci Mete pairing on this team. As you guys can see, there's already some overall line chemistry boosts, which is good. I don't expect it to be exactly the same because I want to go change the coach and see if I can find somebody who has a higher scheme fit. And lastly, taking a look at our goaltenders, Marc-Andre Fleury, of course, returning to Pittsburgh, 35 years old. At the end of his career, he gets locked in with Crosby, Malkin, and Letang as well. We're also trying to give Fleury another ring. He's got 3 so far. He wasn't the starter for 2 of them. He was the starter for the Cup win in 2009 as well. He almost earned a 4th one with the Vegas Golden Knights in 2018, and backing him up is Tristan Jarry. The justification for going out and getting Marc-Andre Fleury back really is the fact that he's played here before. He's played in Pittsburgh, and he was a very good goaltender in Pittsburgh for many, many years. On a comfort level and trying to compete and win another Stanley Cup, I think having Fleury and Jarry is much, much better than having Jarry and DeSmith. Just a lot more reliable, and we're not spending that much more money on this tandem that was already being spent. And I didn't touch on this too much with the Golden Knights trade with getting Fleury back, but I think a solid backup goaltender is what they need. Obviously, Leonard is their starter going forward, so DeSmith fits in there very, very well. But anyways, guys, that's going to do it for the first episode. I just wanted to intro. On the last note of this, I do want to preview how the series is going to be played and how you guys will see the episodes featured. So what we're going to end up doing is playing one game and then simulating 4. So I want a healthy balance of my own input of playing the game. I also want to play the game to have some fun with the team. I don't want to control and have a heavy influence over how well this team does. On some level, I'm still the GM, and I really want the team to earn it. So doing just a rough estimate, it seems like there'll be about 18 episodes or so of the regular season, and then when we get to playoffs, we will play all the games because it'll be an experience, and we'll be turning the difficulty up to make it a little bit tougher on ourselves as we try to get another ring in Pittsburgh. But that's how the series will be played. If you guys watch the Rangers series at all, you know I was playing every game in that one, and it's tough. It takes a really long time, and it's a lot of effort. This is a little bit easier, and the time will go by quicker, and still there's still a healthy amount of episodes coming from the series per year. I'm really excited to get started, guys, but that will wrap it up for this one. Remember to hit that like button down below. Comment below about those trades. Remember that, guys. Let me know what you think. As always, be nice and respectful in the comments. And if you're new to the channel, finding this, or you're already here, subscribe to the channel. There's lots of content coming. There's Carolina Hurricanes content, there's other video game content all across the channel. The NHL 2004 series is still going on. But that will do it for this one, guys. Again, thank you for watching, and as always, I will catch you on the next one.